The City Council for the City of Burlingwood will come to order in the special City Council meeting Wednesday, June 17th, 2026 at 6:31 p.m. And we will begin with roll call.
Brooke Brown.
Kevin Shell.
Kevin Glassy.
Phil McDuffie.
Sarah Hudson.
Gavin Maskill being a quorum present. We will move on to items. Anyone wishing to make public comment on items not on the agenda? Come on up.
Hi, my name is Sandy Keller. I live at 307 Inwood, and I wanted to discuss a couple of concerns I have, and actually 2 actionable requests I have regarding those. I've been talking with Nikki quite a bit recently, and it's about the construction in the community. And my first concern has to do with the amount of congestion we have with the vehicles. The housing construction brings, not hyperbole speaking, dozens of cars to a site on any given day, and people park on both sides of the road, and on narrow streets or curvy streets, that becomes problematic, and not just from a quality of life aspect, but also from a safety concern. On my street, Inwood, we have a blind curve, and it's easy to see where children on bikes or pedestrians have had problems. They have to walk in the street, and the one lane that is available is already taken by them, and there's conflict between them and the oncoming car. So my actionable request would be that we consider asking, if not everywhere the construction goes on, but on really busy streets or on streets like Inwood Road that has a blind curve, that we make the request that people who come for construction be asked to park on one side of the street, thus alleviating some of that congestion, that constriction. And then my second concern is again with construction, and this has to do more with the management of the construction site and the runoff from the construction site. This is not uniform, but there is such variety among the different construction managers regarding the oversight and compliance of the rules that we already have regarding runoff. And again, in particular on my street at 404 Inwood, each time we have had a heavy rain or a steady rain, there has been a stream of sediment, rocks, gravel, all kinds of debris that issue out from there. Nikki and I have talked. At her behest, she got them to replace worn out silt socks, but to my distress, the silt socks were there but not applied in any way so that they prohibited the flow of debris, sediment, and gravel. So I guess my second request would be that we continue to educate our contractors and then perhaps provide additional oversight and demand for compliance of the existing regulations that we already have. So those are my concerns and my requests, and I'm done. Good luck with the budget.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome to stay. Looks like we can find you a seat.
We'll get you a seat up here.
Yeah.
You have my seat.
Okay. Anyone else wishing to testify on items not on the agenda? All right. With that, we will move on to the regular agenda discussion and update on the FY 2026-2027 budget. This is our annual opportunity to begin our true budget process. Council, as you'll recognize, we have no one here in the audience, but I want to go over. Oh, maybe we do. I do want to go. No. False alarm, sorry.
Get excited.
I do like to go over, kind of for the record, since this is recorded and then posted into our archives, I want to go again through sort of what the process is, a quick recap of how the budget is organized in terms of the funds and that sort of thing. And then we'll do a quick run through of the base budget for you. Some of this is still a work in progress. Some of it may change. We're still going through some of these items, but I'll just kind of lay them out mainly for your review over the next 30 days. Alan also has a few new types of spreadsheets and what would we call them? Pie charts that we have not seen in the past. We won't rely on those heavily this year, but beginning next year, we'll try to roll some of those sort of visuals into this budget process. So we'll kind of give you a sneak peek of that a year ahead of time. We'll also at the end kind of talk about the process in terms of the exceptional item process that will begin starting very soon before we get to next month's workshop meeting. And then tonight's workshop is only 30 minutes because it won't take us too long to lay out all of these items. And then next month, please plan to have a little bit more of an extended visit into each one of these budget items and each one of the departments and the funds and that sort of thing. So next month will be a little bit more burdensome on all of us as we go through in a little bit more detail all of these items. So with that, again, for the record, this is the special council meeting on June 17th, where we will go over the budget workshop to present kind of the base budget. And we'll, again, review all of how the funds are laid out, how the budget is organized, and then let you all know that the open period to receive all funds, exceptional items from city council members now begins. And if you could be thinking about those, and if you have any sort of exceptional items that you think you would like to have your colleagues consider in this budget process, this appropriations process, please get those or make contact with staff by July 6th so that we can begin to get those put together so that they go into the packet and we can review them for the first time at the budget workshop next month. Following that, we'll have the regular council meeting on Wednesday, July 15th, where we will have that extended budget workshop. So if any of our friends and neighbors and residents want to come to that budget workshop, they're welcome to do so. In or around July 23rd, we'll receive the certified estimate from Travis County Appraisal District, which will then give us a little bit more clarity as we begin to finally kind of put the final budget together. We will try to have a special city council meeting on Wednesday, August 5th, where we will set the public hearing on the budget and the tax rate for the September special council meeting. And we will set the proposed ad valorem tax rate at that time. So again, that's a key meeting that we'll need to keep on our radars and let your neighbors or residents know that's an important time to pay attention to. The rest of the budget calendar will be posted online as it always is. So if anyone has any specific questions, please go online and take a look at the budget calendar, and that will give you an idea of what meetings are the most important ones for you to show up to. Yes.
On the August 5th meeting, if that is a special meeting that requires at least 4 council members here to be held?
That is correct.
Okay. I will not be here.
Okay.
So, if anybody else will not be here, that date won't work.
Yeah, and that's a great reminder. We'll try to contact all of council well beforehand to see if we have quorum. And if we don't, then we'll adjust it one way or the other. Take note of that. Let's make sure to stay on top of it.
Can I raise the issue?
Sure.
In regard to all that? So one thing that'll help, I think, is if we get further down the road with this big park project and get a cost estimate, and then at least find out from RCDC how much of that they want to pay for, so we'll know whether we have exceptional items for that.
Yep.
And then the other issue is that as we're going into this new city hall process, it's, I think, clear to everybody that the approved bond funding amount may be inadequate. So we might want to keep that in mind when we're considering, if we're going to go to a no rate increase instead of a no revenue increase, there's should be some pretty significant funds that might help with the city hall project.
Yes.
Just throwing that out there.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's a great point. And there's also, we've been in the process of trying to finalize our books on the water CIP, and so we'll have an update for you on that probably next month. I think we're close to getting everything finalized and the final retainers out, and so we'll have an update on that too. I think it's going to be good news. So, okay, with that, we will move it on to the budget structure overview for fiscal year 2026-2027. As this council knows, but as we'll gladly kind of put on the record for those who may go back and review this, our city budget is organized into 14 various funds, and those funds include, and I'll just read them off, and then we'll kind of go through how those funds are then broken down within the funds. But our main fund is our general fund. That's our Fund 100. Our next fund is our water fund, which is Fund 200. We then have a street maintenance fund, 301. And a court security fund, 310, court technology fund, 320, court efficiency fund, 330, debt service fund 2014 series is fund 430, debt service fund series 2019 is our 450 fund, debt service series 2020 is our 460 fund, debt service fund series 2023 is our 470 fund, our debt service fund series 2024 is our 480 fund, and then our capital projects fund is 701, our drainage fund is 702, and our water fund is 800. So those 14 funds make up the entirety of our city budget. Now within each one of those funds, each one is treated a little bit differently. Going back to our general fund 100, we have a number of different departments that council will recognize. We work in all of these funds, all of these departments throughout the year within Fund 100. And those various departments within Fund 100 are our Department number 10, which is Administration, Department 15, which is Development Services, Department 20, which is Sanitation, Department 25, which is Utility Billing, 30, Streets, 40, Police, 50, Courts, 55 Parks, and 65 Public Works. The source of the funds for all of the funds that go into Fund 100 are from tax proceeds, charges for services and leases, licenses and permits, interest income, fund administration charges, reserve transfers, RCDC fund transfers, speaking to Mr. Glasheen's point earlier, bond fund transfers, fines, forfeitures, and penalties, court fees and revenues, and miscellaneous and donations. The limitations on expenditures of these funds are unrestricted. Most revenue may be allocated to each department at the discretion of the city council. So most of the work, as you know, council, that we do in this budget process is contained in this general fund 100. That's where most of your exceptional items will also be contained. And I think it's always good to kind of just do a review so that the general public understands how the overall budget is organized and how the general fund operates as our main unrestricted fund. The water fund, which is the Fund 200, is non-departmental. The sources of the fund revenues coming into the water fund consist of water sales, interest income, late charges, and capital recovery / connections. This is one of our 2 enterprise funds. The proceeds must be spent within the fund, exceptions only for the administration fee transfer out to Fund 100. So this is considered one of our 2 enterprise funds, and it is somewhat self-sustaining, related to the water that is sold out of the water fund for use in our homes. The next is our street maintenance fund. This is our Fund 301. This also is non-departmental, and the source of revenue for funds coming into this fund are strictly from the dedicated street sales tax. So as you recall, every so often this goes back on the ballot for reapproval by our voters. They have historically reapproved that, and that is a dedicated portion of our sales tax that flows directly into 301. The limitations on expenditures and transfers out of this fund, the revenue transfers out of this Fund 100 directly into Department 30. So all of the funds that go into 301 must be spent on streets, and they go directly into our Department 30 for expenditures. Our court security fund is 310. It is a departmental funds, which means our Department 50 is the department that utilizes these funds. The funds that are the source of funds that come into this fund are from the court security fee. So on every citation that's issued, there's a court security fee, and that fee goes directly into this fund. And these funds are statutorily restricted. So there are certain things that are outlined in state statute that we're required to only be allowed to spend these funds on. That is similar also to our court technology fund and our court efficiency fund. The court technology fund has a fee associated on citations for it, and the administrative court fee is also on our citations. All of those funds flow into these respective, all of those dollars flow into these respective funds and back out to Department 50, and they are all statutorily restricted in terms of the expenditures. That then gets us to all of our debt service funds, our 2014, 2019, 2020, 2023, and 2024. The revenue into all of these funds are for property tax debt proceeds, as well as penalty and interest on taxes. All of the revenues in all of these funds they must be spent on the various, for the debt service for these various years in which they were issued. That gets us to the capital projects fund. This is our capital improvements. The source of the funds for this revenue is our 2023 and 2024 general obligation bond proceeds and interest income, and the limitation on expenditures and transfers of those funds out of 701 is strictly to our water CIP packages 1 through 4. Again, I mentioned that a moment ago. We are obviously getting close to wrapping up that's CIP. We will then utilize this same 701 fund. It will sort of transfer uses, and as we move forward with the city hall project, we will begin to use this fund in the same way that we have for the CIP packages, and we will use those general obligation bond funds will be handled within this fund 701. That gets to our drainage fund, which is 702. This is our capital. This is also for capital improvements. The sources of funds into this fund for the revenue are from licenses and permits and fund transfers in, and the limitations on expenditure and transfers, the residential stormwater discharge permit revenues that come into this fund are the revenues that must be spent within the fund. So any of those types of fees that come into this fund must also be spent in that area of the city in which the funds were brought in. That gets us to our last fund, which is the Water Fund 800. This is our second enterprise fund. The sources of the dollars into this, sources of revenue into this fund are from our wastewater service charges, interest and income, and capital recovery connections. This is a non-departmental fund, and as I said, this is our second of 2 enterprise funds, and all of the proceeds within this fund must be spent within the fund, with the exception of an administration fee that transfers out to Fund 100. So that is your annual recap of how our budget is organized. Again, I know some of you on this dais have gone through this exercise many, many times, but I always think it's helpful for those who do want to have a sense of how the budget and how these tax dollars are spent. All they have to do is listen to this, and they'll at least know how it's laid out. So,
So I have a question.
yes, sir.
For the general obligation bonds, we have potential to borrow the money for the city hall project. Where does that show up?
It will when that debt is issued, finally, it will show up in the capital projects fund 701. Do you want to come up and just explain how once the debt is issued, how we established this capital projects fund a few years ago for this specific purpose, because the funds were getting intermingled and we didn't have a good place to sort of house them,
That's
if
correct.
I recall. So that's why we set up 701. But talk to us about the mechanics of how the dollars flow within and out.
Correct, we didn't want to commingle those expenditures with the operating fund. So anybody want to know exactly how much was to be spent on a project, they were dedicated in that particular fund. So as we go into the city hall, we'll set up separate accounts for city hall. so they won't be commingled. You can see exactly how much is being spent.
I think what I'm asking is, where in this process do we see the capacity for what we can issue bonds for that has already been voter approved?
We'll bring it back to you. We'll do the math on that. And that's part of, we're looking again, as we close out the books on the CIP, then we'll have we'll have a better understanding of exactly how much money we have, if there is any money left over. But spoiler alert, it looks like there will be a little bit. So we'll have a good sense of exactly how much debt is available to us and how much we can issue, and then that will come before council for action.
But you're talking about for the existing ones, but I'm talking about the additional ones we've issued no.
No, I'm talking about, we will repeat the process that we did for the CIP for the city hall.
Got it.
And it will come back before council because you may not want to issue all, in fact, we probably won't want to issue all of that debt at once, or we may want to do it in phases. So we'll have a discussion about that.
Yeah, I think what I've struggled with when I've watched these in the past is not having that available at this stage or knowing what that is. It's hard to kind of think about. It's just capacity we can borrow against if we need to, and being able to see that that's available because the voters have already approved it helps to just kind of, we don't have to get creative with other money to fund that, is my point.
Yeah,
What was in the bond package was $2.5 million
right.
for City Hall.
I understand what the number is. I'm just saying, I don't see that anywhere mentioned in this.
Right.
I've never seen this before. I don't even know that exists.
And that's because it hasn't been issued yet, and so once it gets issued, once that discussion is had at this dais, then it will go in, then you'll see it in the budget.
We have the right to sell the bonds at this point.
I-
We haven't
Yeah.
sold them.
What I'm saying is I think maybe an asterisk or something on here identifying that that's available because our voters already approved it
Yeah,
We,
would help.
it,
And maybe, let me come back to this.
Okay.
Maybe this will make more sense at the next chapter of this.
okay. Okay, thanks, Abel. Okay, so with that, we'll move quickly through the budget action requests. Again, just a reminder, these, and a big thank you to Alan and all of the staff for sitting down and going through line by line to begin sort of the base budget. As a reminder, the base budget that we begin to present here tonight is the concept being that the base budget and the dollar amounts that you see here reflected in the departmental, and these are staff driven, but the departmental workshops in terms of a budget action request, the purpose of that base budget is to establish the baseline dollar amount that is needed for the city to accomplish its daily and its ongoing annual operations, right? And so we do a good job, in my opinion, and staff does a great job of bringing you sort of a boiled down version of exactly what they need from day to day in terms of dollars to execute and move forward with the duties of each one of their departments. And that's what is reflected in this budget worksheet on a line by line basis. So anyone can go through and see exactly what we are budgeting for each one of these items. The first one that I'll present, and again, we're not going to go into great detail in this evening, and we will go into more detail in it next month. But you first have our General Fund 100 Administration Department 10 in your first budget action request. You'll see that we were able to maintain most of our not huge changes in that one. And you have a grand total budget request for the department of $701,959. The next department is Department 15 within the general fund. This is a budget action request for the development services. You have a grand total budget request for this department of $268,324,000, 2% increase for this particular department. The next one that you can take a look at over the next 30 days will be Department 20 in Fund 100, which is the sanitation department. Again, I contend one of the best deals that we have going in terms of our trash pickup service, and the budget request for this one is $198,050. It is a slight 6% increase. That increase is built into the contract with our vendor on that contract. The next budget action request is for Department 25 utility billing under our Fund 100. You have a total budget request of $143,038 for utility billing services department. That gets us to our streets department, which is Fund 100 again. Budget action request total of $656,624 for streets. That gets you to your Fund 100 Department 40, which is police. And you have a $1,867,784 budget request for this department, which gets us to our court Department 50 with a $147,046 budget action request for courts. Gets us to parks, Fund 100. You have a $141,557 budget action request for our Parks Department, which gets us to our Public Works Department, 65. You have a $41,500 budget action request for the Public Works Department. Again, we'll go again into more detail. Some of these are not the best named. Public Works has historically meant City Hall and the items that are related to this building. Then gets us to our water fund 200, Department 60. You have a $1,582,717 budget action request for this department. I will go quickly through your non-departmental Fund 301, 310, 301 is street maintenance, Department 60. You have a $306,624 budget action request for your street maintenance fund in Department 60. I'll go quickly through court security, court tech, and court efficiency. You have a $1,625 budget action request for court security, a $5,000 budget action request for court technology, and a $100 court efficiency budget action request for our massive court efficiency fund. That gets us to the debt service funds. I will move quickly through these. That's 430, 450, 460, 470, 480. These are all, this is for 200,800, 711,450, 315,810, 233,575, and 108,050. Again, these are all for debt service, and they are all based on the amortization schedules that we have on file. If you have any questions, we can always dive in deeper with that, but they are all very much on autopilot for those particular funds. That gets us to the capital projects fund, which we discussed a moment ago. Department 35 in our capital projects fund 701. We do not have currently a budget action request that sort of is speaking a little bit to Kevin's point a moment ago. We can dive in deeper with that, and I think we'll have a little bit better information for you next month, and we'll make a point to do that when we discuss a 701 fund next month, if you'll remember to make me do that. That gets us to our drainage fund 702 and capital improvements. You have $48,000 budget action request for 70235. That gets us to our wastewater department fund 60. It's our other enterprise fund. You have a $1,208,719 budget action request for our wastewater department. And that is the initial presentation of your overall base budget. Take a look at that, digest it, members. Oh, behind this too, in your packet, you have the actual, if you have questions as you're going through these budget action requests, we have provided you a copy of our actual budget printout from our what looks more antiquated than it actually is. But it gives you current budget, current period, year-to-date actuals, percentage of budget, and the budget balance. So what's provided to you here is a snapshot of where we are in our current budget. If you want to compare these items to those within the budget action request. You should see the same departments and line items within the budget printout that we have here that are also reflected within the line item numbers on the budget action request. So all of that is for you to take a look at and think about from between now and next month. And again, we do post all of this information online so anyone can take a look at it as well. And that is the initial layout of your next year's budget. Alan, do you want to show them just real quickly kind of a sneak peek of some of the additional analytics that we'll use for next year?
So as Nikki brings it up, it's there. So basically, I know that our budget here is heavily reliant on the numbers, and it's just very much the printout from Encode. I know in previous cities, a lot of people like to see charts and graphs to more easily digested rather than go through it. I'm a numbers guy myself, so I quite like just the meat and potatoes. But I try to have some way to kind of visualize where the funds are going, what they're being expended on, the types of things. Obviously, this is drafted up on this base budget that's nowhere near final, nowhere near ready, excludes things like a major city hall project. But with that in mind, with all of my AI skills, I got a nice budget cover sheet there. This, if we could zoom in a bit, because I can't see it from here, and it's just kind of initial stab on my end that the mayor and I are just kind of playing with a comparison sheet here. It's not in your packet, but basically I was looking at what the expenses are proposed currently for FY 2027 on a department by department basis, as the mayor just spelled out, and then the difference to the current fiscal year. Anytime you see in the right-hand column a green, that's a saving. Anytime you see in the red, that's an expenditure above what it is this year. And then that big section of yellow is equal, which is to be expected with the various court funds and the debt service funds, because that's just based on that amortization schedule. Of course, it's subject to change, because you'll see things like the streets department has a massive savings where it's down 53%, but that's because last year council approved a $350,000 exceptional item for street paving. That's not in there this time, even though it's quite likely a similar item will be there in FY 27 as well. So that's just as it stands in the base budget. Same things we did last year. I know the council and the mayor and staff, of course, we want to make sure we're being wise stewards of the taxpayers' money. So we did our best to reduce expenses where we could. And if we go to the next page here, thank you. Just from kind of managerial standpoint, I'm seeing how much money each department head oversees their departments. Izzy has lots of different departments. The chief obviously has one, Veronica has one. So you can kind of see in the top right there how it breaks down, and then the pie chart below it shows the revenue expenditures controlled by each department head. Of course, all overseen by myself and the mayor as well. So nothing terribly interesting perhaps, but kind of nice to see where it's going and who's a steward of the various funds. Again, as it currently stands, there's the pie chart for the proposed M&O expenditures by department. You can see, hopefully, exactly what you'd expect. And actually, I made a prediction at the very beginning that's almost exactly right. Police is looking like right about a quarter. In the other cities where I've worked, we didn't have water and wastewater, so police is right about half. Water and wastewater funds are so huge that they take up those other big pies as well. So right about a quarter. Yes, ma'am.
I'm getting a notice that the audio's not working for people who are watching this from home. Or it's not turned up. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no. I'd like people to hear it. I know we're kind of past time. We'll rattle through.
No, you're good.
Okay. Okay, so as Lindsay tries to fix it, so you can kind of see that, and again, this is very preliminary because those slices will change dramatically after the capital improvements are put in there as well. Next page, please. Then this also then contemplates the debt expenditures. The debt expenditures are quite large, and if I recall, I can't really see it terribly well from here, but about at the 7 o'clock position where that 2% gray is, all the way up to the other kind of gray one is debt. If you go to the next page, you'll kind of see where it just breaks down to M&O and debt service. So you can see just overall, the blue being just regular M&O, the orange being the debt expenses that we're anticipating at this point. Again, it's subject to change. We haven't issued those other bonds for the City Hall improvements, and there's not any other exceptional items like street repaving or things in there. And then just as the final one, and this one is very draft, because I do include interfund transfers, which is probably a financial no-no because it's really not going anywhere. It's just moving between them. But you can see personnel. Maybe you can see. I can't read it. Operations and maintenance is the big expenses in debt service as well. So personnel is the actual direct cost of the personnel. The operations and maintenance is exactly that, but also includes ongoing like personnel training, because the personnel is more salaries, benefits, social security taxes, but the operations and maintenance also includes the training of the staff, uniforms for the police, guns, that type of thing. Again, it's subject to dramatic changes based on what council approves, but I wanted to make sure, I think visually it kind of helps you digest that better than 70 pages of just numbers.
Yeah. A big thank you to Alan. I'm not sure why, having worked on the budget for about 7 years now, I'm not sure why pie charts never occurred to me, but when I saw these, I was like, yeah, that's a great idea. So we'll try to do a few more of these moving forward to give you a quick snapshot of the kind of the visual of how the budget's broken down. So,
And if there's any charts or anything I can pull out of the data for you, let me know and I'll include those as well.
yeah. Okay. We're about 7 minutes over our time. Any questions for myself or Alan, Abel, anybody? We good, council? All right. Well, thank you for this initial workshop on our upcoming budget. And with that, we will adjourn temporarily at 7:08. If I have a motion.
So moved.
You have a motion for adjournment. You don't need a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Being 5 ayes, no nays, motion carries. You are adjourned for about 5 minutes.